Hey there. It's said that your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship that you may have. Now, I'm asking you a question. Is the often repeated statement, love yourself first before any other, really true? Now, there are some people who call it a myth, stating that people learn to love themselves first by seeing role models, your parents, a family that loves you unconditionally, and watching them, you then learn to love yourself. Now, their logic is, how can you love yourself if you have never had a loving family? How can you build self-esteem if you've never witnessed it yourself? So I stand to slightly differ here. And let me explain why. Now, I strongly believe that the level of self-esteem is not set for eternity in your childhood. It tends to fluctuate throughout your lifetime. So it can grow, it can deteriorate, and it depends on the circumstances. Now, we all have choices as we grow older, and every choice that we make in our life is the result of how much we love and respect ourselves, and that is the truth. It sounds simple, but I completely understand how hard this one thing can get to be. Now, I can personally remember the several choices that I made. The choice to keep sticking with a relationship even when I knew that it was over, it was time to give up that relationship. When I wanted to say a no, and the no would be the right thing at that time, but I ended up saying a yes. Now, there were times also when I was unwilling to see things and people in the eye, and instead went and buried my head in the sand, evading the realities of life. And these were choices that were made based on a lowered self-esteem. So conversely, of course, I made good choices too. And with those, my self-esteem peaked. And with the peaked self-esteem, I made further right choices. And one such choice that I remember was making that hard choice as a single mother to send my son, who's so important to me, to a distant place to study. Now, stone on my heart, I did that. And today I'm so proud of the choice that I made. So some choices we regret, some we are proud of. But the important thing here is not about which is a right choice or which is a wrong choice. The important thing here is, what am I learning from these choices? What have they taught me? And when we adopt this attitude, then making the right choices and developing self-esteem becomes an easier part of our existence. How often have we seen young school leavers enter into a stream of study only to prove themselves to their parents? They take on a profession of their parents' choice. What happens later is dissatisfaction, is unfulfilled dreams, resulting in a lowered self-esteem. And ultimately, this leads to failure in life. And this happens many a time. So having a healthy self-esteem is important, and I say very important, because it leads to confidence. It leads you to do things that will fulfill your passion and needs. It leads you ultimately to a happy and a successful life. Have you ever observed the body language of a person with low self-esteem versus a person who has an elevated self-esteem? There's drained energy, dependence on others, pessimism, sudden outbursts of anger, non-stop sensation of inadequacy, versus confidence, relaxed, open to criticism, ability to laugh at yourself, comfortable receiving compliments. So people with low self-esteem invariably and often attract people with low self-esteem, though this may not be the case all the time. And coming to relationship, a mismatch in esteem will more often than not over time result in a relationship breakdown due to the self-defeating or the self-sabotaging behavior of the person with a low self-esteem. Now, a typical example in relationships, when let's say the partner with high self-esteem is socializing at a get-together. He may even have female friends he's conversing with, or she may have male friends she's conversing with. And no sooner does the couple get time alone, the partner with a low self-esteem, out of jealousy and resentment, exhibits a completely different body language. And very often it leads to an argument and floodgates open up, creating a giant snowball effect until what was really just a niggle becomes a massive issue spanning the entire relationship. And yes, over a prolonged period of time, several such incidences lead to a complete breakdown in the relationship. So therefore, to successfully build your self-esteem, it is important to adopt an attitude that you can create your own happiness out of making the right choices, because you fully deserve that happiness and you are worth it. Make the right choices, elevate self-esteem. With elevated self-esteem, you naturally again make the right choices. And it's a no-brainer that a positive self-esteem directly benefits your quality of life and your health in a big way, because ultimately it allows you to have a different perception about your circumstance. The helicopter view, they say, rising up as against standing on the ground in the middle of that challenge and seeing that situation. And it will always appear bigger when you see it standing on the ground. So coming back to where we began, there are people who have grown up in an environment that could have resulted in unhealthy negative self-esteem. But can you change it later for the better? Oh, absolutely you can. And like I said earlier, the level of self-esteem is not set for eternity in childhood. But change definitely takes time, it takes effort and some work. Now, I have designed a powerful and proven system based on a process that supports you in understanding and internalizing certain concepts you have about your own self that may not be valid. And I will handhold you towards unlearning the negative and sometimes destructive self-concepts and then replacing them with valid, positive, healthy, and meaningful concepts. And gradually you'll see those layers peeling off and your self-esteem starts improving as you come to perceive and believe new notions and you gain a better understanding about yourself. So if you are struggling with low self-esteem, click on the link below to book a call with me. Know your worth. Never settle for less than you actually deserve.